Studio 5, we have a new chapter in the God's Not Dead film series. A Broadway hit becomes a big screen movie, and new music from a band leader embarking now on a solo career. We've got lots to share this week, but first let's begin our countdown of the top 5 stories in the world of uplifting entertainment. At number 5.
I've got a confession to make. I've never climbed a mountain, never swum in a lake. I was in a cave once.
Oh, what a world we live in.
I'm beginning to think that I might be missing something.
We all ready?
Yes, sir.
It's a Studio 5 first look at Welcome to Earth, the Disney Plus and National Geographic 6-part series starring Will Smith.
I asked the best modern-day explorers, take me to the ends of the earth. And they said, oh, we can go further than that.
The series follows Smith on an adventure around the world as he explores Earth's greatest wonders and hidden secrets. The series starts streaming in December, and the title, Smith's character said,
"Welcome to Earth,"
when he was fighting aliens in the movie Independence Day.
and we need the helmet because the volcano spits rocks up in the air as if this helmet's going to do something with one of these big rocks.
At number 4.
I'm singing with Tony B.
A look inside the making of Tony Bennett's final studio album, being released Friday. At age 95, Bennett told fans back in February he's battling Alzheimer's.
This has been really special, and it's a time that I'll never forget. And I can only hope and pray that when people hear this record, they know the value of that sort of intergenerational friendship.
Actor Isaiah Washington may be most remembered for his portrayal of the character Dr. Preston Burke in the first 3 seasons of the hit series Grey's Anatomy. But his acting resume includes unforgettable roles like Spike Lee's Crooklyn, Clockers, Love Jones, The 100, and so much more. His newest role is the latest chapter of the God's Not Dead franchise. It's called God's Not Dead, We the People. And Isaiah is here to help us share the story.
Freedom is a fragile thing, and it's never more than 1 generation away from extinction. And those
What made you say yes to the God's Not Dead franchise?
have never known it again.
Let's face it, your God, your book, they're in the way.
I like to pick projects that make me feel like I am being of service.
Started because one man chose a hill he was willing to die on. I would like to call this hearing of the House Subcommittee to order.
Right now, there's an effort underway to mandate universal educational guidelines.
How much alike, I should say, are you to the congressman you portray in God's Not Dead, We the People? How much are you like Daryl?
There are attributes there that obviously you have to bring to the table. In the world that I'm in, I have to use my facilities, mental facilities, body, voice to create something that was just really a blank page, and then someone wrote it. It's always interesting that people say, "Oh man, you were so believable. You were so this, you were so that." And I always say, "Yeah, but I didn't write it. I just merely used my body as an instrument to play the song." And the song that Daryl Smith, the lyrics, so to speak, resonated with me.
Once we decide what a child needs to know, it becomes imperative that every child know it.
Remember the visit we got from social services the other day?
I'm here to review your homeschooling environment.
Religion has been removed from our schools. They're teaching kids that they don't need God.
I was overwhelmed and blown away with how many people were actually homeschooling their children long before the pandemic, and the issues that arise because of that. And me being a father of a 22-year-old, a 19-year-old, and now 16-year-old, and being blessed and fortunate enough to have had them in public schools since they were in nursery, I felt that it was my duty to be able to speak on behalf of those who probably would never have a platform to talk about their challenges and their issues.
If your children do not show up at school a week from Monday, you will be charged with contempt of court, meaning you will be incarcerated.
Do you feel that what you do is your calling? You were called to do what you're doing today?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Just want to make sure you understand what you're fighting here.
Our district teaches a revisionist version of history.
If God is for us, who can be against us?
Around here, just about everyone else.
Did you on purpose tie yourself to a faith-based project?
I actually knew nothing about David A.R. White before.
Wow.
I was reached out to a gentleman, and oh God, please forgive me, sir, but I forget his name, and suggested that I reach out to the casting director. At that time, we were in the throes of the shutdown, so the offer didn't come in, and then it came back again, and then it became very real. And then the casting, then the offer, and then I got a chance to read the script, the character, and the entire story. I tried very hard to pick projects that will resonate with individuals for a long time after they've seen it. And money is not everything to me, never has been. I've always been aware that, my children eventually are going to reach the ages that they are now, and that people are going to judge me and scrutinize me and my legacy based on the kind of material that I have said yes to. I just prayed and said, look, God, if you put me in the place, in my purpose, where I'm supposed to be of service, I promise you, with all of my DNA, that I will try to be the best at that thing.
You are out of order, Mr. Hill.
A government of the people, by the people, for the people.
God's Not Dead, We the People is the fourth chapter of the God's Not Dead franchise. It is in theaters for 3 nights only next week. That's Monday, October 4th through Wednesday, October 6th.
Still to come. Ready and action. We go behind the scenes of the Broadway hit, now ready for the big screen.
This is a film that you're directing that you didn't write. Why this film to direct knowing you hadn't written it?
The director of Dear Evan Hansen joins us.
It was all Alana's idea. She thought of the whole thing. Is that, yeah, that's the young woman.
At number 3.
I'm not gonna open my door.
The new film, The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain, details the heartbreaking true story of an older black military veteran in White Plains, New York, whose life alert necklace went off one morning 10 years ago. Police responded and ended up shooting him. Family says the shooting was completely unnecessary, and the film's producer, Morgan Freeman, tells me he hopes people see it and call for change.
What we have to do is retrain our police force, not just the guys who are on the streets with guns, but that part of them that are going to respond to cases like Kenneth Sr.'s.
The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain is out now in theaters and streaming on demand.
At number 2.
I prayed this morning to be a better listener.
Oscar-winning actor Denzel Washington says God has been telling him in recent years to feed my sheep. He was speaking at an Orlando men's conference. Washington told the audience, quote, at 66, getting ready to be 67, having just buried my mother, I made a promise to her and to God, not just to do good the right way, but to honor my mother and my father by the way I live my life the rest of my days on earth. I'm here to serve, to help, to provide.
Yes, I've been high up on the mountain. I've been blessed, but that's a slippery slope, and it's lonely up there.
With that, we have just one more story to share in this week's countdown. We'll pick it back up in just a little bit. But next up, we're sitting down with filmmaker Stephen Chbosky. He had the task of bringing a Broadway hit to the big screen, and he's here to bring us an inside look at the making of Dear Evan Hansen.
Dear Evan Hansen, today is going to be an amazing day, and here's why.
So this is a film that you're directing that you didn't write. Why this film to direct knowing you hadn't written it?
I directed this film because when I saw it on Broadway 3 years ago, I was so taken by the story. It was so complicated, but ultimately I thought very redemptive. I love the music. I thought it was a surprising story. The characters were memorable. It just, I don't know, it checked every box I had.
No one signed your cast. Now we can both pretend we're friends.
I'm sorry about my brother.
Have you ever felt forgotten in the middle of nowhere? I wish everything was different. Wish I was part of something. I wish that anything I said mattered.
Because of what it's about, I thought it could do a lot of good in the world. I thought it could let young people know that some of the things they struggle with, whether it's depression or anxiety or maybe even, suicidal thoughts, whatever they may be struggling with, that it could help them feel seen and understood and respected.
Dear Evan Hansen, he wrote it to you.
His last words, Connor took his own life.
This deals with mental health, anxiety, suicide, social media isolation. Why is it important to do this kind of work, you think?
I think it's important because, young people have these struggles. We all know it. I'm a parent. My daughter's 9, my son is 6. I think about the world they're living now and the world that they're about to enter.
Connor showed me that I wasn't alone. Nobody is.
There's so much struggle, and we all know it. People are good people. That they need good movies and good art that allows them to feel be seen and understood.
What's the challenge of taking such a successful story that we've seen in a book, that we see on Broadway, and now bringing it to screen?
The challenge was, that was also the opportunity. It was very exciting to do live singing in front of the camera.
Maybe there's a reason to believe you'll be okay.
And that's what I wanted to create, and with a cast like that, we were able to do it. It's very exciting.
I know that you've seen great response to some of your work, to the point some people writing and saying that the work that you've done has saved their lives. And I know that this particular work has received similar response from some people. What's that do to you as a creator when you hear the power of what this does?
Well, it's actually a very gratifying thing to hear, but it's also, in equal measure, it's actually very sad as well. When you realize with every person that you're talking to, every letter that you read, I have a lot of empathy in my heart. That's just how I live. And when I read the letter, even though I'm so grateful that this person has found the light and this person is figuring out their lives, I can't help but feel the pain maybe that they have experienced that even led them to the dark moment to even choose, right? So for me, the audience does not exist for the movies exist for the audience. We are here to make this, to hopefully give you some joy or entertainment or hope or inspiration in your lives so that you can go and do great things. To me, that's the point.
Would you say this is your calling in the world?
Yes, 100%.
I already know you. And I love you.
The idea of here's this beautiful message that you can then use the medium of films to put it to millions and millions of people. That's a wonderful responsibility, I think, and a wonderful opportunity to put some good in the world.
I don't understand what happened.
You did. You don't know how much you've given my family and me.
Dear Evan Hansen is in theaters right now. While it is a teenage musical story, it does contain adult language and themes. Time now to share this week's Studio 5 story in pictures. Here's your look at this week's snapshot.
Everyone's favorite frightening family is back, and they have an animated comedy sequel. The all-new Addams Family 2 has Morticia and Gomez distraught. Their children are growing up, skipping family dinners and consumed with screen time. That calls for a family road trip across America and takes them out of their element. This hilarious tale is released this week, and these images from the film are your Studio 5 snapshot. Just moments away.
Maybe we don't have to have it all together.
This band frontman goes solo.
It's safe to tell you the truth.
It's Mike Donehey without 10th Avenue North.
Make a shelter for each other.
And welcome back to Studio 5. He's the former frontman for the band 10th Avenue North. Well, now with all the other members going their separate ways, he's embarking on a solo career. Mike Donehey is here with a new music project. It's called Flourish. Here's a quick sample of the sound. So the new project is called Flourish. Why that title? Tell me about the story behind the music, if you will.
Yeah, the story behind the record is the story we all just lived over the last year, where I was confronted with the reality that my circumstances did not feel like they were flourishing. And I had to write these songs to resist the idea that that meant I couldn't flourish. Because I was thinking, you know, my circumstances may not change, but I can change. They may not be flourishing, but I can flourish.
Let's go into some of the tracks on the project, and I want to get the story behind them, if you will. The first, Glory I Couldn't See.
Yeah, man, that's a confession. That song is my confession of all the things I didn't realize I really needed to work on that the pandemic exposed. In other words, that's my song of realizing there's all this glory in my everyday mundane life that a lot of times I miss because I'm looking forward to the next thing.
All together.
It's gonna take myself to cultivate the kind of life that others haven't seen yet.
Yeah, all together, I said to my buddy, I said, you know, most of the time, not all the time, but a lot of times when I go to church, it feels like we'll hear testimony about past struggles, but we don't hear a lot of testimony about current struggles. And that's strange to me because James 5 says we need to confess our sins one to another, pray for each other. So I wanted to write a song to say, it's okay to let us see the cracks, you know, because cracks are where the light gets in.
Unity hymn.
Your love unites us. Your love unites us, Lord.
This isn't a very relevant topic, right? Unity. Everyone's just getting along. Everyone's getting along so well these days. One thing that grieves my heart is realizing that, man, you know what? There's, you know, over 30,000 denominations of Christianity just in America alone. And you know what I've realized? There is a whole lot more that we agree on than we disagree on. So that song is just, it's my prayer echoing what Jesus prayed. God, may they be one as you and I are one.
Mike Donehey's project is called Flourish. It's available right now wherever you purchase, stream, or download your music. Right now is the perfect time to return to this week's countdown of uplifting entertainment, and we have made it to the final story. Here's a look at what is finishing on top this week.
At number 1.
All over the world, we say,
That's the sound of Grammy-winning artist Kirk Franklin's latest recording. With a virtual choir of 120 children living in poverty in 25 countries around the world, and handpicked from the Compassion International's child development programs.
Congratulations, I'm so excited to be here to be with you.
Kakama from Uganda is one of those children.
How did Kirk Franklin feel when he saw us singing his song?
I was very humble. I was speechless. My brother, my sister.
I was very grateful and excited to bring back a song that's over 20 years old, and to be able to use it as a tool to be able to get these kids that are sometimes invisible to the rest of us because we are so busy scrolling and we're so busy trying to be bossy.
Sounds so good.
This is a project that's taken months to complete, but all proceeds will go right back into Compassion's work with these young people.
How difficult was this technically to pull off this recording with all these kids in all these different parts of the world?
It was crazy. It was crazy. These time zones, it was just crazy. It was crazy. Yeah.
And welcome back to Studio 5. This week's soundtrack comes from Grammy-winning artists Jonathan McReynolds and Mali Music. They've released their highly anticipated collaboration album, Johnny and Mali Live in LA. Take a listen and you'll hear why Jump Ship is what's playing in my ear. Jump Ship. By the way, Jonathan and Mali are headlining their own tour, Johnny and Mali. It begins this week in Atlanta. On that musical note, we are almost out of time for this week's edition of Studio 5. So let's look ahead to next week and check out just one story on the rundown. Surviving the Game is the latest track from Skillet.
Surviving the Game just kind of felt like the right thing to me because you're surviving it. You know, you're optimistic, but it doesn't ignore the difficulty. It doesn't ignore the fact that life is hard.
The band's frontman John Cooper takes a break from the stage to sit down with Studio 5.
All the liars around me, like the walls of the walls that surround me, and the face of the thing I can stand and tall.
And we hope you'll join us for that one story and so much more come next week. Before we wrap this week, we'd like to give the final word to actor Isaiah Washington.
I found myself working part-time for Kelly Temps in a company. I will go unnamed. And I had a huge crush on my supervisor named Cynthia. And I asked her out for a date. And she said, yeah, sure, you can, but you have to come to my church. And I said, well, you know, me being who I was, a young man, 23, I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll go to your church. And she says, no, you don't have to come to my church, but if you want to date me, you have to be baptized. I said, whatever, you know, lustful. Went to the church and got baptized and fell in love with the Spirit of Jesus more than I wanted to be with her. I no longer had lust in my heart for her. All I wanted to do was follow the principles of Jesus Christ at that time.
Isaiah Washington, that is a great final word for this edition of Studio 5 and this week's look at uplifting entertainment. Until next time, I encourage you to make time to uplift someone around you, and then please come on back and see where Studio 5 takes you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for watching.